are two other key features of responsible government. One is the notion of collective responsibility. The other one is individual ministerial responsibility. Let's talk first about collective responsibility. Collective responsibility means that members of the cabinet are collectively responsible as a government. It means that if the government loses the support or confidence of Parliament, the Prime Minister must tender the resignation of the entire ministry. So what this essentially means is that the members of the cabinet stand or fall together. And it means that even if ministers may disagree with each other in the cabinet, once a decision is made, they all bear equal responsibility for it and cannot be permitted to show discord or disagreement in public. In addition to the idea of collective responsibility, is also the key element of individual ministerial responsibility. What this actually means in practice is that ministers must account for their actions by answering questions in Parliament, and they must resign when they are guilty of personal misjudgment or negligence in the conduct of the affairs of their department. The question has to arise: what is the basis for the Prime Minister and his cabinet having to resign in the event they lose the support or confidence of Parliament? Is it based on the Constitution, or is it a matter of practice? And the answer is actually a case of both. Essentially, the executive government that loses the support or confidence of the Parliament cannot govern, simply because Parliament controls government's access to finance. For example, Section 81 of the Australian Constitution requires that all the revenue of the Commonwealth should be paid into the Consolidated Revenue Fund. And Section 83 of the Australian Constitution also states that no money shall be drawn from the Treasury of the Commonwealth except under appropriation made by law. Now, obviously, the power to pass laws, to appropriate money, lies with Parliament. In effect, there are two ways by which a government, in other words, the Prime Minister and his cabinet, can lose government support or confidence. The first is when government is denied supply by the lower house. In other words, Parliament refuses to pass a law appropriating revenue or monies for the ordinary annual services of the government. The second way by which government can also lose support is when the lower house or the House of Representatives passes a resolution expressing lack of confidence in the government or rejects a resolution declaring confidence in the government. Having talked about responsible government in a very theoretical sense, in reality, how does responsible government work? Ratnapala and Crow, for example, would argue that it is actually the cabinet that controls Parliament and not vice versa. Hence, the idea of responsible government seems to be more apparent than real. The reason why the idea of responsible government seems to be more apparent than real is that, in reality, the majority party whose support is the basis for the government in power cannot casually go against the executive without bringing it down. So what happens in practice is that members of the majority party, especially backbenchers, defend the actions of the executive.